I was weirdly excited for Rage 2, which came out last May. And it's mainly because it's like, hey, you like Doom? You like id and they're shooting? Of course you do, don't be an idiot. Of course you like the id shooting. Do you like the driving from Just Cause 2 with Avalanche? And it's like, yes, of course I do. Put them both together, and that's Rage 2. So on paper, Rage 2 felt like an amazing title. And to be honest, in the build-up towards its release, all the pre-release trailers and stuff, they all look really solid. It was like, okay, as much as Rage 1 was a bit meh, this might not be a complete dumpster fire. And when the game came out, I pre-ordered it and got it and blah, 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 blah. And I played it through in 2 nights, I think. And I did enjoy the gunplay, but that's about it. Everything else about that game is so disgustingly hollow and very much not thought out, because you get a plethora of weapons to choose from, just covering each of the bases of types of weapon you can find in a game. But I genuinely only had the pistol, the rifle, and the shotgun. They're the only weapons I actually found, because none of the game actually forces you to go out of your way to find more stuff. So I beat the whole game with 3 weapons, and I died twice in the entire game. It's an absolute piece of piss. And even then, at the end, at the beginning, you could choose whether you play as a male or female character, and they've got all the voice lines and stuff re-recorded for either or. When you get to the end, it shows a comic of the game, of the events of the game playing out, and it's the dude. They didn't do a comic featuring the woman if you played as a woman, and it's like, that's a big stupid oversight, isn't it? And it's a game that I've only actually been back to since I finished it once, just to try out the power of the PC I built last summer. Because it was Rage 2 is the first game my old PC really started to sort of chug along with. So when I built my new fantastic build, I was like, let's give Rage 2 a go. And I was like, cool, it works better, uninstall. Bargain bin, give it a go. Because again, it's shooting, it's great fun, but then, yeah, it's about as memorable as yesterday's poo.
I have 2 things for this. Number 1 is Persona 5. Now, I love Persona 5. Oh my god, stop, calm down, you. But I put about 70 hours into that game because I adored Persona 4. And I will totally maintain that I think Persona 4 is way better than 5. I love the fact that 4 is like a murder mystery. It has so much more drive to it. I love the characters in that game. And so when 5 came out, with that game's presentation, the menus and the music and the whole beginning rush of that game is, oh my god, they've done it again. They've nailed it. It's one of the best RPGs. I can't wait to get stuck into it. And for me, that story never really starts picking up, and I kept just playing it and playing it and playing it every single night, hours and hours and hours, waiting for it to get there. And one of the opening plot points is that they're trying to find the identity of this person who attacked someone who has bright orange glasses on. And there's one point a few hours in where a man with bright orange glasses on walks past your crew, and then the person who could identify them just goes, I think they look familiar. And it's like, yeah, it's clearly the story. The story's walking right past you. Maybe you could talk to the story and actually let us get a bit of plot drive. And they don't, and it keeps going. And loads of other stuff just sort of meanders on. So I kept putting more time into that game, and it just never really kicked off. And literally about 70 hours in, I just ended up calling it a day because there was so much other stuff to play, and I've never gone back to it. I've never actually finished it. So as much as that game is clearly one of the best games of all time, I'm assuming eventually, I never got there. And so it means that those 70 hours are a complete waste of time. And I want to love it. And I do love the soundtrack. The soundtrack's so good. But in terms of the story drive, especially compared to 4, it was terrible. So I'm going to say that, and then I want a separate entry for just all that Ubisoft beige, unlock the open world map one blip at a time. They even had it in The Crew. Drive your car up to a radio tower and ping the map so you can slowly unlock the fog. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was just a big old load of hashtag content spread across a 300-hour map that no one's ever going to see. There's no need for something to be that big. And so I want to have a separate thing for Ubisoft beige game design, which I think they're slowly moving away from. But that outbreak of beige was everywhere for the last few years. I don't think anybody ever saw every last drop of those games because they're just too big.
The video game that was the biggest waste of time has got to be Red Dead Redemption 2. And listen, Josh.
I love you, Osley, but I can't do it.
Listen,
I've got to go. I've got to go.
Listen, let me explain, please.
All right, okay. I owe you this.
Please. So, this was back in November. It came out on the PC last year in 2019, if you're watching this in 2025 for some reason. And Rockstar just announced out of nowhere, literally on a tweet saying, oh, we're releasing Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC. And I was like, okay, I booked the time off, 3 days I booked off, and I just wanted to play it. And I was really looking forward to it so much. Because I absolutely love Rockstar so much. All their GTA games are brilliant. On the day that it was released, it was a big old buggy mess. Like all the trees were literally doing that, basically. Yeah, frame rate was an issue. There was long freezes throughout the whole game. And the only way to combat this was turning your CPU down by 7%. Which was really weird just for the game. And when I did eventually get onto playing it, it was nice, it was lovely, but I spent about 40 hours on it for 5 days, including the 3 days that I booked off, because this was on a Wednesday going over to the weekend. And it was just so long, ridiculously long. And all the mechanics just feel so slow, and you can kind of understand because it's supposed to be janky and it's supposed to be weird because it was back in the 1800s. That's how it was back in the day. Your aim would always be off in the Wild West, essentially. I did finish the main campaign, but other than that, I haven't finished the epilogue because there's nothing that really draws me to it anymore. I still like the game, but other than that, I just can't get back into it.
To be honest, Rich, I don't want to keep talking about this game because everyone keeps kicking it, and it is kicking a dead horse, but it's Anthem. That's one of the games recently and in my entire life where I've just been playing it and thinking, what am I doing? What am I getting out of this? And maybe it's because we were covering it at work, obviously, and I did have kind of some high hopes for it. It's easy to forget now, but back before it came out, I was really excited for BioWare's next project because I still had a lot of respect for that studio and thought that even though it doesn't look great, it might be better than everyone's saying. I might be able to find something in it, because I often feel like I can. But this just was not it, Chief. This was not the thing for me. And I only played it for about 5 hours, and I played games for much longer that I also haven't enjoyed, but this genuinely felt like a waste of time. There was barely any loot, so I thought, why am I doing these missions? The missions themselves were repeated over and over again, and I was playing solo, which probably isn't the best way to play it either, so I wasn't even getting the thrill of co-op, and I just, at one point, had to put the controller down after I'd spammed the same special move, which is admittedly good, and just think, why? Why am I doing this? I'm getting nothing from this, and the game's gonna ask me to put another 20 hours or so in just to finish the story, and it was one of the few games where I've just had to hold my hands up and go, I don't want to finish you. I'm not even to get the completionist satisfied inside me. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. When Anthem 2 comes around, I might try it again. If they overhaul it and add some new stuff in, I might try it again, but for now, I almost forget I even have it. Sometimes I'll go through the library on my PlayStation, and I see it, and I think, did I play Anthem? And then I remember the 5 hours that I've just been taken from my memory that, yeah, I must have played it at one point, but I got nothing out of it. It made no impact on me. And that's genuinely does suck to say it, as much as we do rag on it all the time.
Gonna kind of minutiae a few here. So first of all, the SmackDown games. By the time they got to SmackDown versus Raw, after about 2007, they kind of went downhill and they were more of just I still like the wrestling, I really like the wrestling, I'm going to play the wrestling game and pay a lot of money for the wrestling game. And then realise after a few weeks, I don't want to play the wrestling game or keep playing the wrestling game all the time and then wasting my money and time on the wrestling game when I could be playing other great games that I'm now going back and just trying to pick off. But then again, I was just playing the wrestling game, and the wrestling games are terrible now, especially as I got a copy of 2K20, the wrestling game, which is really bad. And I tried to do a wrestling match called the Royal Rumble, and I was wrestling in the wrestling game, and then it just crashed before the end. Blue screened, the wrestling game was dead. Haven't played it since, so the wrestling game just sits on my shelf being a wrestling game. But I also have to give a shout, that was a mini shout. I have to give a shout out to after that big bit in BioShock, bit of a waste of time afterwards, loads of combat. Would you kindly just stop wasting my time? And then, because those drones are crap. And then Duke Nukem, that Duke Nukem game that came out on 360.
Forever.
Yeah, Duke Nukem Forever. For some reason, I bought that game. I was like, I'm really curious. I'm going to play this. I'm going to buy it. It's just a waste of money and waste of time, isn't it? I threw my shit. I threw poo. I pooed everywhere. carried the poo for a bit, threw it at people, and it was just poo. It was almost as poo as the wrestling games that I wasted time playing the wrestling games for. Talking about poo is just, it's just, why did I pay money for that game?
Because you're a stupid man. Speaking of poo.
I was a man boy. Talking about Brown.
You pooed everywhere.
You know in Duke Nukem when you can throw the poo?
He pooed everywhere.
I pooed everywhere.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Now, if you want more chatty faces, why not watch through the rest of our playlist? But I just want to say a big thank you to the brilliant channel sponsors for voting on this week's chatty question. And if you want to join the vote, then why not consider hitting the join button and becoming a sponsor today? And we will see you next week. Bye!